ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another fabulous episode of Special Moments with Stevie D. My name is Michael Renfro, and we are in our second episode of the Stevie D Roast because there are too many people who despise him. We've had to stretch it out to 2 shows. Anyway, we know so many people have lined up around the block, you'd think it was the line for Star Wars, and we wish we could welcome all of you in. Therefore, we have invited a select few to share their saga. Stevie D invites abuse. It would be impolite to refuse the invitation. We again want to thank Luigi at Luigi's Restaurant in Pacifica for providing the excellent food for tonight's show. Also, Phil Delanides with Supreme Lending, the mortgage leader. And at this time, I'd like to introduce our first ex-friend of Stevie D. Please welcome Mr. Conrad Dobler.
Thank you. Hello and good evening. Some of you might know me as Stevie D's illegitimate brother, which is a hell of a lot better than being his legitimate brother. But others on this know me as a former drug-addicted child actor who's now an old drug-addicted child actor. And still many others claim that I look like the formerly defunct, then reinstated, then driven to insanity Prime Minister of Albania. Well, with that one, you might be onto something. Like many of these ridiculously nasty people here tonight, for legal reasons, I can't actually say I ever met Stevie D several times. And they may or may not have been in prison, although there are many photos to the contrary. I did not run into Stevie D on the first time on a Muni train, where he was trying to play the flight of the bumblebee through his nostrils while holding a snot-laden cap for people to throw coins into. Not surprisingly, it was so sad that these 2 tiny second-grade girls scouts knocked him to the ground and kicked him in the family jewels. Such are some of my better memories of Stevie D. I didn't meet him again at a theatrical audition. He was trying out for a part as a rock in an elementary school play. They kept rejecting him for being too old and the wrong gender to play this particular rock. My reasons for being there, well, all I can say is Miss Saperstein, sexy librarian, yowza. I may or may not have seen him a third time at a Santana concert. The police were escorting him out quite brusquely at the exit. He was dressed only in nipple tassels and a G-string, singing the University of Wisconsin fight song. Apparently, that's the only song he actually knows the lyrics to, and he's not even from Wisconsin. I was not once or twice in a courtroom where Stevie D was on trial for stealing the Schlockenheimer technique. And when the witnesses were called to testify against him, he kept barking like a dog, pleading insanity, and asking the prosecuting attorney if she'd ever had her leg peed on in henna. He is half Greek, all-American, and a little appendage. Let me finish with the story from my not-so-great uncle, twice removed. His nickname was Corny, but we all called him Cornelius for long. He was 5'2", with the aura of a man on the verge of a convulsion. He also wore a tuxedo and was quite the ladies' man, too. My uncle used to say, whenever faced with incredible absurdity, it's essential to feign insanity. Which brings us to Stevie D, foaming at the mouth, barking like a dog, calling out for help, asking someone to rub his swollen belly and to let him sniff the behinds of unsuspecting animals. Let's hope he never procreates publicly. Well, that's it for me. They're telling me it's time for me to talk to the lizard man. Thank you and good night.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And now I'd like to bring up our next presenter, Ms. Mia Dela Hayes.
Okay. Yes, can I get through?
Oh, sorry.
Just move. Can I get through, please? I'm Mia Dela Hay. I'm here to focus on Stevie D's worst attributes, okay? Because he's disgusting. I first met Stevie at the University of Minnesota, and why he sings the fight song from the University of Wisconsin is beyond me, but we shouldn't be surprised with anything that Stevie does, because he is an idiot. Can we go back a little bit? I'm trying to remember my lines.
It's emotional. Just take
Yeah, well, anyway, we were both Yeah, okay, I heard you. We were both undergraduates. I was studying molecular biology, and he was attempting to study underneath my dress, which is when I realized that he was a complete psychopath, but I thought, whatever, he's cute. So underneath his skin-tight tank top, I realized that he had hair on his shoulders and back and neck all braided into a thick, weird curl, which, am I right, ladies, is just everyone's dream. Blah. So after he asked me my name, he asked me if I wanted to watch animal pornography with him, and I said, sure, yeah, that sounds good. I immediately took him to meet my parents. That did the trick, of course. They told me that I should leave school immediately and that I should have nothing to do with this disgusting man. And I should have listened, but I didn't. Stevie made jokes. He said that we would have multiple children that we could sell for money if we needed it. And he also said that he was a distant relative of the last royal family in Albania. I don't know why that didn't change their minds. But we did marry on a rainy day in November. That should have been the first hint, but it was not. I had to pay for the justice of the peace to get us to unite. And Stevie said that he could sell mining socks in 30 days to get us more money to live on. Later, I realized that he was referring to money for him to live on. Anyway, marriage wasn't all that bad at first. He did all the cooking, the cleaning. He did all the errands while I finished my doctorate in astrophysics. We were planning a very large family until those men from the Department of Justice arrived one afternoon after Stevie went out for some sugar to bake a cake, right? He never came back. He must have known they were coming because he just didn't come home. And you know what? I should be angry, but I'm not. I'm actually quite relieved that he never came home because apparently he was wanted for several foreign governments, for fraud, for stealing top secret documents, for trying to proposition several members of the Bulgarian parliament, and who knows what else. Okay? Also, I really couldn't stand his beef Wellington. He said it was his family's recipe from his mother, but I think just like everything else, he stole it from a Bolivian tourist or something. Okay, the men in the white suits are telling me it's time to go back to the hospital. I just want to leave you with this one last thing. Do us all a favor and kill Stevie D, okay? Kill him before he spreads a seed and is allowed to pervert and further poison the human race, okay? Take him outside and burn him at the stake until his flaming guts are scattered in ashes, okay? And film it, please. Kill Stevie D.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's give it up for the for our latest guest. Thank you. Okay. Well done. Could we get some staff security? I mean, our studio care specialists to use their therapy spray and escort this nice young lady back to her hospital room. Thank you. And now, that reminds me of the time Stevie D was held for 48 hours. I don't want to get into it, but let's say there's one mayoral inauguration they'll never forget. And now please welcome Stevie D's former cousin and attorney, Mr. Rudy McDevitt Wong.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak about my dear cousin. God knows he never lets me speak when we're together. He's always talking to himself about color schemes and the set designs and tuxedos. He's had the same tuxedo for 20 years. And this set looks like it should have been thrown out in the 90s. Now, as his attorney, well, for now that is, I received a call from one Raoul Duke, collect call, I might add, asking me if I'd be so kind as to represent a very old client of his who needs excellent representation in a very convoluted alimony case. It struck my imagination as to who this person on the phone was and who he might be describing. Naturally, I was curious. I asked him dozens of questions about the character, the financial status, the smell of the person in question. In so much as 15 minutes, I came to realize that he was describing my own cousin, and that he needed to be picked up from the airport and was in some sort of disguise, something about an ex-wife and a foreign government. Knowing my irresponsible and pathetic cousin, Stevie D, I realized that my practice did need some publicity, and bad, terrible publicity is still publicity. So I decided to drive to the airport just to soothe my imagination get some lunch, and possibly have a belt at the airport bar while my cousin here wandered aimlessly on the international tarmac. I was hoping he'd get arrested so that I'd at least have something humorous to read about the next day. As it turned out, Stevie D had somehow befriended the stewardesses of the Thai airline, and he got invited to their hotel room for drinks and a very sweaty game of Thai Twister. I guess it's a really big deal in Thailand right now. Anyways, being the smart young man that I am, anything having to do with Stevie D is worth following. That is a fact that I know. Somehow, no matter how tactless and irritating he might be, that tux, it's a chick magnet. Now, it's not that I find my cousin completely distasteful all of the time. After all, his jokes about women and minorities, underprivileged suburbanite children always find a soft spot with me. And he's always so cheery and full of excitement whenever reruns of Dark Shadows are on cable. You know, back in the old days before his parents disowned him and he got kicked out of the circus. His idea of entertainment is walking down the street to look underneath dogs to determine their gender. Now, not against the law, but definitely something that would make others ditch him without a moment's thought. I guess I really wanted to come here to support Stevie D. Give the viewing audience a reassurance that my dear, repulsive cousin isn't as bad as many say. Actually, he can be worse sometimes, but thank God he frightens when people mention the name of his account. Anyways, thank you for listening, and any lady who needs legal representation must be single and available. Please see me after the show.
All right, well done. Thank you. That was awesome. All right, I would like to say something meaningful right now, but I've been advised by counsel that this forum is inappropriate for rational thinking. But this isn't.
Salutations, followers. It's time for yet another Brahmin Bromide with Yogini, your spiritual guide through today's challenges. When encountering a stressful situation, like driving in traffic or entering into a hostage negotiation, take these simple steps to find true, absolute inner peace. Take a deep breath. Then start visualizing your financial troubles. Then start worrying. This newly added stress from obsessing over your fiduciary burdens will override whatever stress you were encountering at that moment. Just like two negatives make a positive.
Thank you. And now we're going to hear from Stevie D's least favorite musical entertainer, though he spends hours listening to him like a little teenage girl, old what's-his-face, you know the guy. Put your hands together for the musical stylings of Nelson Wooten.
Nelson Wooten couldn't make it, so he sent Brother Love instead. Oh, Nelson Wooten couldn't make it, so he sent Brother Love instead. Are you ready for the Holy Ghost of power? Can I get a hallelujah? Can I get an amen? Oh, are you ready for the Holy Ghost of power? Can I get a hallelujah? Can I get an amen? All of you have the chance to be saved by Brother Love and his first congregation of the Second Revival. It's a 501c3. Oh, she's ready to be saved by Brother Love and the first congregation of the Second Revival. It's a 501c3. But there's one person here who will not be saved. No, 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 no. There's one person who will not be saved.
Who is that person?
Oh, Stevie D's gonna burn in hell. Listen to me, people, the words that I tell. He has broken every single one of just for fun. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Oh, Stevie D's got idols in his bedroom. Why do you gotta do that? He coveted his neighbor's wife and the dog and cat. He committed murder for false witness too. On the Sabbath, you go out. That's not what you should do. You should give money to Brother Love. It's a 501c3. It's a tax write-off for you and me. We'll take money from anyone except Stevie D, because you a damn. That ain't fun. Oh, the big finale, everybody. Stevie D's gonna burn in hell.
Burn in hell.
Stevie D's gonna burn in hell. For all the bad things I can tell. Stevie D's gonna burn in hell.
And it'll serve you well, too.
Brotherlove.com, we take Venmo and PayPal.
Checks and donations.
Well done, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up for Mr. Delsadoon or whomever his guys is. All right, thank you. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to hear from one of Stevie D's former employees. Please welcome Ms. Katrina Ahern Katrina, ladies and gentlemen. Back to follow.
So, I was not his employee. He was my employee. He worked for me, but that's fine. Okay. Everyone, it's a pleasure to be here today. I've been asked to appear and say a few words on behalf of my ex-employee that worked at one of my locations when I was regional manager at Petco. His name is Mr. Stevie D. Unfortunately, I'm not sure what great accolades he has achieved, but I will try my best to pay my tributes to him. Now, let's see what I have here. Yeah, he came to work every time, on time, every Wednesday and Thursday, on time. He was very efficient at stocking the light dog food in the back room of the warehouse. He always wore or didn't wear? Oh, he always wore his Petco uniform tidy and recently washed, although he did seem to have pet food stains around the neck and chest of his shirt. Why? He was very well liked by his fellow employees, especially the young girls from the reformatory school that we hired on occasion. He rarely participated in the craps games that some of the other less reputable and questionable workers had and played, but in the back lot he did watch them, and he found them to be thoroughly educational. Why didn't you play then? Anyway, and I do know from what the assistant manager has written that he always greeted the elderly ladies with a smile and helped them find things in the aisles and only asked for a marginal tip of $5. Unfortunately, his files are fairly thin as he only worked at Petco for 5 weeks. Apparently, he was caught in a cat litter scandal, selling used cat litter to churches at reduced cost. The charges were later dropped, though, by Pastor Adolf Attila Lichtenstein. For reasons we're not really sure. I think he paid him off. But it was rumored that he also had a state lottery scandal, selling used lottery tickets to the blind of the Lutheran church across the street. But that again was never proven. And he was never seen or heard from again after that incident. Now, several other issues that I promised the Petco executives that I would ask about was how it was also rumored that he would foam at the mouth whenever invalid children would come into the store with their pets, and that he was accused of feeding laxatives to guide dogs for the visually impaired, causing them to stop often to relieve themselves in public while he filmed the incident and posted to YouTube. But again, never substantiated. And he was always a very pleasant employee whenever wealthy, mature ladies would come into the store looking for hairball treatments for their cats. Anyway, several other employees had brought allegations that he was swindling money from them, telling them that he'd help them apply to the treatment with benefits afterwards. But none, can you believe it? None of these were proven. How does that happen? But overall, Stevie had no legal issues pending in Petco file, a clean slate. Thank you, everyone. And I must catch the next flight to Bangkok. I'm meeting with the Prime Minister to sell them swampland in Florida. Thank you, everyone.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Katrina. And thank you, Ms. O'Hearn Wojniewski. Wojniewski. You know, I feel like I've seen her somewhere before. Well, ladies and gentlemen, please watch this.
Salutations, followers. It's time for yet another Brahmin bromide with Yogini, your spiritual guide through today's challenges. If you ever stub your toe, drop an anvil on your foot, like in a cartoon, or otherwise find yourself in awful pain, let me enlighten you to the path of healing. When in pain, the most sure way to relief is in the act of giving. The act of giving to another produces healing energy. So give me $50. This simple act of giving to another, namely me, will balance all chakras, align all meridians, and assuage all boo-boos. I take PayPal.
What's that spot you can't itch?
What did you guys do?
Right. Oh, hey. And we're back. You know, most people have always considered that spending time with Stevie D was a form of punishment, much like being forced to listen to that Cars for Kids song. I, on the other hand, remember when Mr. Rogers threw an empty gin bottle at a reporter who asked him about Stevie D. And on that note, let's please welcome Mr. James Carver Teagarden.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is James Carver Teagarden. When I was assigned to do a lengthy biography on Stevie D, I had one thought. Wasn't he killed in a mysterious smelting plant explosion? Turned out I was wrong. I hopped on a plane to Lubbock, Texas, and drove to his secure compound. Well, that's what he liked to call it. It really was an old medical waste disposal site. My first impression of Stevie D was seeing him in a tuxedo with tinfoil on his head, standing on the porch, yelling to the sky about Brian Williams' conspiracy. When he saw me get out of my car, he asked if I was the guy in the Flintstones chewable commercials. When you do a biography on a person who really shouldn't be famous, you learn what makes a man tick. What fascinated me the most about Stevie D wasn't what made him tick, but that he had ticks, and he didn't seem to mind them. His favorite bar has ladies' night every other Thursday, but they only get a discount if they throw a drink in his face before he hits on them. We sat on his porch and talked a long time. For a moment, I thought he wasn't as dumb as they said. The interview was going well when I pulled out a piece of lint from my pocket. Stevie D started screaming and curled up in a ball in the corner. His butler told me that he was bitten by a piece of lint as a child and that he never got over it. Once I completed this piece, I was informed that it was to be shelved next to Donald Trump's college transcripts, and I was never to mention it ever again. And that is a really great story. It was really neat having Stevie D around. It was really neat. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. There we go. Harsh but true words, ladies and gentlemen, harsh but true words. And now we'd like to take this opportunity to introduce a commercial from one of our sponsors. Let's get on with that now.
Salutations, followers. It is time for yet another Brahmin bromide with Yogini, your spiritual guide through today's challenges. Today, I received a letter from a follower who was so moved by my teachings that she felt compelled to reach out to me for a sense of closure. Dear Yogini, thank you for making time to send me a one-sentence statement on the struggles of my life. I regret to inform you that your suggestion of burning sage and answering the phone in my office by saying Nam Yo Renge Kyo did not result in the prediction of the chi force from the planet correcting all imbalances between me and my boss. In fact, he felt that burning incense and playing Ravi Shankar music was inappropriate for a U.S. Customs office in Whitefish, Montana. He fired me, and I don't know what to do. Sincerely, no room for food. Dear No Roof or Food, which, by the way, is an adorable name. See this as a gift, a chance to remove yourself from the mundane drudgery of a secure government job for life, for the opportunity of working in the fulfilling environment of an Amazon warehouse with a 6-month contract with a non-zero chance of renewal. Embrace it as you would a cold gust of wind unexpectedly blasting your face as you exit your warm home.
Doing good. Doing good. All right. Hey, all right. Dear friends, family, and ex-employers, as you all know, Stevie D emits an odor that is a combination of corn pops and napalm, so the sooner we get him up here, the sooner we can go home and air out our clothes. I must quote Thornton Wilder when he said about our town, "It might be small, but is our small and tiny, much like Stevie D's self-esteem. Ladies and gentlemen, the man you love to hate, Stevie D."
Thank you.
Boo, hiss.
Thank you very much. You stole my hat. I appreciate the fact that everyone brought up my alternative lifestyle of gambling, drinking, carousing, cheating, swindling, political payoffs, and alleviating wealthy 75-year-old women of extra grocery money. I do have a few thank yous for people unable to make it today. My bookie Stan in Nova Scotia, my third cousin twice removed Theo, still hiding somewhere in Alaska, my former priest who always told me that if you can't follow God, at least try not to screw it up so often, and my former colleague Joe at the Barbizon School of Modeling. He tried to break into acting but used my name too many times and went back to cutting hair. And I'd like to thank Mr. Michael Renfro here, who was kind enough to insult me and enjoy it. Now, many of you have heard stories this evening of my crude, ignorant, and disgusting behavior in life, and although it might be true, I wasn't really swindling old ladies out of their pension. I really wanted to have sexual relations with them. It was never my fault when the anatomical parts were under construction. Sorry, honey. But, however, it was always my pleasure to massage their toes and whisper sweet lullabies in their ears until they fell asleep or died. But I will say this. Whenever a dirty job needed to be done, whenever a bully kid needed to be pushed in the mud, or an extremely large woman needed a compliment regarding her figure, I, Stevie D, could always be counted on to exhibit morally questionable behavior. Thanks for tuning in again tonight, folks. We'll see you next time on Special Moments with Stevie D. Love you all. You guys want an autographed picture? These are reduced prices. They're on sale right now.
I thought you were paying us to do it.
No. What's going on here, guys? What? What are you doing? You guys are... Hey. Oh, that's my cousin. Takes after me, just like me. Honey, I didn't have sex with any of those old women.